right? When we are talking about the event of death, because the conditions which I have stated, they are only for the event of death, not for the event of marriage, not for the event of childbirth, or not for any other event. Is only for the event of death, right? So this is about the progress ascendant. This was the next rule that we have to keep in mind. And here in the present chart, Saturn is in the star of Rahu in the sub of Venus. It is linked to 8 and 12, indicating the death of some relative. Then the another point was that the ascendant, progress ascendant sign lord, either by itself has to be in the eighth or the ascendant house of the relative whose death has happened. And if sometimes it does not happen, then it should give the promise, should appear in the relevant cusp through the star lord or the sublord. And here Venus is the sublord, therefore it satisfies the condition, and hence the death of the father and the death of the mother is justified by the progressed ascendant sign law. Okay, so now let us see the event of death. For the event of death of father of this native and the various dasha period lords at the time which has been calculated so far, which may be correct, which may be incorrect, that can only be known when I justify the events. So the dasha period lords for the death of the father, they are Mercury, Saturn, Mercury, Sun, and it has happened on 23/11/1993, and the time period is 1430. 23/11/1993, 1430. So Dasha period lords will be Mercury, Saturn, Mercury, Sun, and Venus. Mercury, Saturn, Mercury, Sun, and Venus. Now, what we will do here? For the death of father, it is Mercury, Saturn, Mercury, Sun, and Mercury. Now here, the prana which I am getting is Venus. Okay, but actually the prana that I'll get here will be Mercury. It means some more adjustment this time period has to be done. Why it has to be done, it is yet to be seen. So I will focus primarily on Mercury, Saturn, Mercury, and Sun. Mercury, Saturn, Mercury, and Sun. So for the death of father, the the dasha lord is Mercury. The first condition is that Mercury has to be, if I look into the houses which are important for the death of father, eighth house is fourth house, second house is 10th house, seventh house is third house, 12th house is eighth house. These are all Marka houses, and the Badka house is 3. So it is 3, 4, 8, 9, and 10. 3, 4, 8, 9, and 10. Now, Mercury here is the co-ruler of the third house, Dasha Lord, and Mercury is the co-ruler of the ninth house. So it satisfies condition number one, rule number one, that it has to be a co-ruler of either the ascendant or the Badka or the eighth house. Now the eighth house is fourth house. It is not a co-ruler of fourth house, but it is a co-ruler of third house, which is Badka house, and it is a co-ruler of ninth house, which is ascendant house. The second condition is that the ascendant, the dasha lord should be linked to the eighth sub level, eighth sub lord. Eighth sub lord here is Venus. Dasha lord is Mercury, and Mercury and Venus, they have to be linked to each other. Rahu is Venus. Look here. Mercury is in Mercury star, Rahu sub, Rahu is Venus. So Mercury is linked to Venus at sub level. What was the rule? It has to be linked preferably at the star level and rarely at the sub level. And here in present case, it is linking at the sub level. It is linking at the sub level. Similarly, Venus is also linking to Mercury at the sub level. So it satisfies the second condition also, right? The third condition was it has to be a significator of 1 and 8, Marka along with Marka and Badka. So Mercury here is involving 3 and 9, committing to 4, 8, and 10, and final confirmation with also 4, 8, and 10. Third house is Badka house, ninth house is ascendant, fourth house is eighth house. So it is linking to Badka, ascendant, eighth house, and 8 and 10. They are both Marka houses. So it is linking to 1 and 8 along with Marka Badka houses. It satisfies the condition. And finally, the confirmation has to be through which house? The second house, the seventh house, the eighth house, the 12th house, or the Badka house. And it is linking here through the fourth house, which is eighth house for the death of the father. And hence, Mercury satisfies the conditions required for the death of the father. Okay. Now, the next point is that we have to check the moon star and the sun sub on the day of death. The moon star, we have to check the link of the moon star. The moon star in the death of father is Jupiter, and Jupiter has to be linked either to the 8th sub-sublord or it has to be linked to the Badka sub-sublord. Now, the Badka sub-sublord is Mars, the 8th sub-sublord is Venus. Jupiter is nowhere linked to Venus. Venus is nowhere linked to Jupiter, but Jupiter is in the star of Mars, and Mars is the Badka SSL. Therefore, moon star Jupiter is linked to the Badka SSL, satisfies the condition of moon star linking to either the 8th SSL or Badka SSL. And similarly, the link of the sun sub, which is Mercury, and sun sub Mercury has to be linked to either the 8th SSL or the Badka SSL, and Mercury here is linked to Venus, or Venus here is linked to Mercury, and therefore this also satisfies the condition. Hence, all the conditions required for the event of the death, they are satisfied up to this point. And now the next point, which is very very important, is that on the day of the death, Saturn is the car, which is the karka of the death, should transit in a sign and star which is linked to 8th or Badka SSL and is also a significator of death giving houses. This is very very important. Unless and until this condition is satisfied, till this condition is satisfied, till this condition is satisfied, the death of the native will not happen. It will not happen. Is it okay?
Sir, Putri,
No. Time and again I am repeating. Dasha Lord has to be linked to 8th SSL only, or the planet placed in 8th Bhava, preferably at the star level and rarely at the sub level. In the present chart, it is linked at the sub level. I cannot link at the sub level. That is incorrect. Right? Hanji, is it okay?
and is there any reason, sir?
See, Reason is, when you have rules, when you frame rules for certain things, then what you do is, that is based upon logics. The reason is that the sub-sublord can change with the change in time period, but the sublord and star lord will not change. प्लानिटरी पोजीशन में सब लॉर्ड भी चेंज नहीं होता, बहुत मुश्किल से चेंज होता है. But here he has fixed that it has to be only at the star level, because the result of any planet is to be given through its star, and sub commits to it. Sub level has to do nothing with it. It simply tells whether the result which we have obtained, the promise which we have obtained, is good or bad, nothing else. Sub level for any planetary position never tells us about the result. It simply approves the result, that whether the given result is good or the given result is bad. What kind of result is there is through involvement and commitment level. It tells that whether the involvement is justified or is negated. That is the promise. And at sub level it simply approves कि जो कुछ स्टार लेवल और सब लेवल ने कहा है, whether that is good or that is bad. Is it okay?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It simply tells whether it is the results which you are going to get, they are good results or the bad results. Sub level has nothing to do with pointing out कि क्या होना है. It is always the star level. Any planet gives the results through its star levels, which are approved by the sub level. Whether they are good or bad is justified by the sub level. If they are good results, we will say that this sub level is okay. If they are bad results, we will say that this sub level is not okay. So why we should go for it? We could go for the other one. You get the point? So this is how you use it. That is why it has to be at the star level, preferably, and rarely at the sub level. Any more questions, please? किसी को कुछ पूछना और? Is there any question to be asked?
No, sir.
No,
ठीक
sir.
है? No. So then, what we do is that we will check whether all the Dasha period lords are giving the event of death or not, for the case of, for the death of the father as well as the death of the mother. Okay, so the same method we will employ and we will check it. Now, after verifying the events of death, because these are the important points which we always need to keep in mind. For death, Dasha Lord is very, very important. The conditions imposed on the Dasha Lord are very, very important. And till the Dasha Lord commits to the event of death, it will not happen. Then, suppose the Dasha Lord commits to it, approves the death, but the Karka of death, Saturn, disapproves of the event, it will not happen. That event can happen only when the Dasha Lord permits and the Saturn, which is the Karka of death, also approves the event. And if it is not doing it, the event of death will not happen. So that is why so many ifs and buts are for the Dasha period. So there are so many rules for the Dasha period, because the Dasha period, the Dasha Lord, that is very, very important for the period of death, until it is signifying death, approved by the Karka of death, the event of death is not likely to happen. After the Dasha, the death of the parents, which you have to justify in the same manner. Now, is it clear for both the cases? कि दोनों cases में we have to follow the same rules, and on the basis of the same rules, what we find is, we will find that the death of both the parents are justified by the Dasha period lords. Okay. Now, after both the events, happening of both the events being approved by The Dasha period lords, that is Dasha Lord, Bhukti, Antra, Sukshma, and Prana, that is DBASP. We will proceed to the next event, that is the event of marriage. And if you look at the event of marriage, the event of marriage happened on 1st of September 1991, 22 hours. So it is 1st of September 1991 and 22 hours. And the Dasha period lords which you are having at this particular time for the event of marriage, they are Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Jupiter, and Saturn. Okay, because it is 22 hours now. So it is Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Jupiter, Saturn. Now, when I look into Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Jupiter, Jupiter, what I find here is that Mercury is giving the event of marriage. Jupiter, if you look at Jupiter, Jupiter through Mars is giving 5, 7, 11. Jupiter is in the sub of Moon, which is giving me 1, 5, 6, 11. And Jupiter is in the sub of Saturn, which is giving me 7 and 11. I have written here that this will not allow the event to happen. Can you justify it? Why it will not allow the event to happen?
6, sir.
Commitment में 6 है.
6
Commitment
है.
में 6 is there.
Now,
Negative to
what we
7.
have been, what we have
Commitment
been,
में commitment है having the 6.
कमिटमेंट में 6 है, ये तो वन रीजन हो गया. सपोज करो ये होता, then will it allow the event to happen?
Can
Sir.
allow. Can
It
allow.
will allow. It will allow the event to happen. So what
Yes.
is important here is the appearance of 6 at the sub level for bhukti. What is important? Some important rules for the bhukti. They are what? Number one, it should be co-ruler of the seventh cusp.
Prime cusp.
That is, preferably it should be the sub-sublord of the seventh cusp. In the present chart, the sub-sublord of the seventh cusp is Saturn. Okay, and the bhukti lord for the marriage is Jupiter. Now, what other planets can act as the bhukti lords? All planets which are placed in the star, in the sub and in the sub-sub of Saturn, they can act as bhukti lords. Now, planets placed in the star of Sun, they are Sun, Moon, Ketu. Planets placed in the sub of Saturn, there is no planet. And planet placed in the sub-sub of Saturn, that is Jupiter. So, apart from Saturn, Sun, Moon, Ketu, Jupiter, and Saturn can also act as the Bhukti lords. And here we are having Jupiter as the Bhukti lord, so it is okay. Jupiter can act as the Bhukti lord. But Jupiter here through Moon is giving the significations of 1, 5, 6, and 11, as no 7 has appeared over here. Therefore, this Bhukti lord through the sub moon will not allow the event to happen because of appearance of 6 at the sub level, and moon itself is the sub lord of the sixth cusp. It will not allow the event to happen. Therefore, since moon is the sub lord of the sixth cusp, what we will do is we will change the time,
A little bit.
and this time will be changed to remove moon from this position. And when I do it, the time period which I get, now the 6 from the position of 6 sub lord, moon disappears. when I adjust the timings to 9 hours 58 minutes 49 seconds and 84 milliseconds. Now here moon has disappeared from the sixth position, but the arc, it has changed to 91.97%, and for this chart the arc has to be adjusted to less
50%.
than 50%. Therefore I will adjust the arc now. So I will adjust the arc below 50%, and the new time that I will get is 9 hours 58 minutes 32 seconds and 84 milliseconds. And on this date, now 23/11/1993.
Sir, sir, one doubt. While changing this arc on this one, will the progress assessment will not change, sir?
No, that will not
Okay.
change. वो कोई
Okay.
फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. Now on this date, the Dasha period lords will be Mercury, Saturn, Mercury, Sun, and Mercury. Okay, it is for the death of father. Now this position of the Prana lord has changed. For the death of mother, the time period is 1545. 30/11/2011. It will become Venus, Rahu, Mercury, Saturn, and Rahu. Right? And for marriage now it will become Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Jupiter, and Jupiter. So then this will be the rectified time for this particular chart, where all the events of death, the event of marriage, and the event of childbirth are fully satisfied. They are fully satisfied. So the time period that I am going to have is, this is 49 I had, then I adjusted this time period, I got 33. And for this time period, at this time period, the childbirth is fully justified. Dasha period lords are Mercury, Saturn, Saturn, Sun, Rahu. Involvement 2511, 2511, 2511. Commitment by 511, 5, 5, 2511, 211, 5, 2511, 2511. So it is justified. Similarly, if you take the case of marriage, now here it was no and no and no. But when you finally adjust it, I have not drawn that table for the marriage. So if you finally adjust it, then it will give the event of marriage. And similarly, the death of mother, justified by involvement, commitment, final confirmation. Similarly, the death of father is also justified. So all the events, they stand fully justified when I fix the time period to 9 hours 58 minutes 32 seconds and 84 milliseconds. After doing all this, now I have to take the transit for the planets, and I have to justify the chart on the basis of the transit and the progression. So the next rule is justifying all the events by taking the transit. How do we do that? That we'll discuss in the next lecture. And then one lecture more we will discuss that how on the basis of the progress chart, with this time as the rectified time, we will explain all the events. Second rule is fixing the arc. Third rule is fixing the 1710 rule. Fourth is finding out the dasha period lords for the death event, and preferably we take the death event. After fixing the death event, you can easily fix the other events. That will not take much of time. And once you fix the death, all the events will be automatically justified by making only small and minor adjustments. So death event is to be taken. For death event, we have to primarily focus upon the dasha lord. The dasha lord has to follow certain rules. Then we will proceed to the progressed ascendant and the progressed ascendant sign lord, and we have to justify that the progress ascendant sign lord is linked to all the cusps which are allowing the events to happen. After that, we will justify all the events on the basis of the fixed time period. And if the fixed time period is not allowing some events to happen, like what happened in the case of marriage, we will make small adjustment in the time periods so that the event of marriage also that is fully justified. And then one by one we will again recheck all the events and find that at this particular time period which I have already checked, all the events, the marriage event, childbirth event, and the death event is fully justified and verified. Now, after doing this in the natal chart, we have to focus upon the transit chart at the time of the event, and then on the basis of the dasha period lords and the transit of Jupiter, Sun, Moon for childbirth and marriage, and for death it is Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, Jupiter, Sun, and Moon. We have to justify the happening of all these events. And once you justify it on the basis of transit chart, we then have to proceed to the progress chart. And by taking the progress chart, we have again to justify all the events on the basis of progress chart, which has to be checked up to the progression level, which has to be checked up to the prana level. Now, any question, please? किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन पूछना है तो पूछो.